Hi, everybody. From me, Brent Graham. It's Thursday night, 9 o'clock. It's time for the Handicap Rugby Chat. That matters. Well, we got plenty of games to look forward to this weekend. Not as busy as next week, I can tell you, because next week the local rugby gets going. We do have a bit of a local flavour this week, but we'll also be talking New Zealand Mitre 10 Cup and, of course, the Pro 14. There is Gallagher English Premiership and Top 14. I know there's some Top 14 betting out, but the Premiership betting for Sunday is not out yet. But looking forward to catching up on my guests on that. Just an announcement. I did say that Oracle Rugby would be joining us tonight. Unfortunately, Oracle had to message before the show. He's had no power. He's under pressure at work. I think he's trying to service a few debts that he ran up last weekend, but he won't be joining us on the show. But I do have two guests with me to talk through all of the rugby, and I'm going to start at the top of the screen there, and it's Neil, Thoughts on Sports on Twitter. Neil, good to have you back on the show.
No, Brent, yeah, very happy to be back. It's been a bit of a while, taking a bit of sabbatical from the show just to sort of focus on a bit of work my side. But yeah, everything's going well. It's been a cracking couple of weeks of punting. I'm very excited that the South African rugby is starting to resume. More of my eyes set in the Curry Cup next weekend. The Premiership's been absolutely great on the punting front. So very excited for those lines to come out tomorrow once team news gets announced.
Excellent. Yeah, I think you're not alone in looking forward to those Curry Cup lines. I know Henrik Swart is probably licking his lips. And Henrik, I see you down there in Cape Town. You've got a fire on in the background. I'm assuming that's not to keep you warm, and that's to put a bit of steak on later. Or is that perhaps a screen share of one of Oracle's videos?
No, not one of Oracle. I'm actually disappointed that Oracle's not on. I always enjoy chatting with Gavin. Now I'm going to put a steak on later. Actually, meant to eat before the show, but my timing was a bit wrong, so I had to put on a few extra pieces of wood, and I'll only eat after the show. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Curry Cup. Well, they're calling it Super Rugby Unlocked, but yeah, it's basically a Curry Cup next week starting. That's going to be great. There will be lots of opportunities for punters. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this week's Mitre 10 Cup. It's been like a gold mine. Neil has been in great form in the Mitre 10 Cup as well. So yeah, looking forward to chatting a bit of rugby.
Excellent. Yeah, well, we'll get straight into it. Let's start with the Springbok Showdown game this weekend. We got green against gold. And Henrik, I'll start with you. I'm going to be quoting prices from BetExchange, but obviously you just talk about wherever you're getting your prices from there. I think there's been a bit of movement in this market. If I'm not mistaken, one of the sides opened up sort of 2-point favorites, and now we got 9 to 10 the pair. You got any money down on this one? I mean, should we, as punters, really be climbing into this game? Because it's not really it's not like a provincial game where there's lots of feeling between the sides and stuff like that. I mean, is the result actually going to be on the players' minds here, or is it really just a case of their own individual performances?
No, Brent, this is not a game to bet big on or to get really involved in. Actually, earlier in the week it was plus 2.5 for the gold team. It actually, more than a week ago, it opened plus 4.5, I think, on the gold team. There's been lots of money for the gold team. Most punters fancy the gold team. If I had to, I haven't had any money, put any money down on this, and I'm not going to put any money on either of these two teams. But I'm probably also leaning gold. But there's a few weaklings in both teams. Yeah, I think this is more of a game to focus on the points. You'll have to, and I'm not even going to punt pre-game. I'm going to punt in running here. This game is at Newlands. It would have been great if this game had been on the Highveld, and we probably would have gone overs on points here, but I'm a bit wary at Newlands. But there should be some opportunities in running for points here. So I think wait in running, and after the one team scores, maybe like you did at halftime with the Bulls and the Sharks game last week, Brent, when the Sharks were down 35-7 or something like that, take overs on the other team. I think this is a game to punt in running. I'm not going to put any money on this before the game starts.
Excellent. Yeah, it's also sort of game I could see getting scrappy at some point as well. So might well be worth looking at an unders play there. But let's see, Neil, here, as you say, Neil, you've been on, well, as Henrik says, you've been on cracking form. And the question is, do you get involved in a game like this as well? I mean, last week you could argue that, you know, that the Bulls against the Sharks game wasn't really one to get involved in, but I know you were very, very strong on the Bulls, and that proved to be spot on. What are your thoughts here?
Brent, for me, also not a game to get massively involved in. One player I do like, just for a couple of reasons, is probably either team to win by 7 or less. One, it's a Springbok Showdown, so naturally it will be quite close. I think when one team ticks ahead, the other team will be looking to catch up. Two, the game is getting played at Newlands on the coast. We all know Newlands is one of the biggest unders grounds in the world. And then three, I can't remember, I saw who the ref was midweek, and I just think that based on that appointment, the name escapes me now, that it will be naturally quite a close game. I think that both teams have a bit of experience on either side. So I look at one team and I'm like, wow, I don't like that forward pack. But then I look at the backs and I'm like, okay, backs are a bit off on the one side as opposed to the other side. So I think, Brent, if you're putting a lot of cash on either side, you're gambling more than sort of betting on probable outcomes. So for me, one small play on either team by 7 or less. I checked with Sunbet earlier and they had it at 14 to 10. I think that's quite a nice price. So you're quite nicely covered on that. So I think that's just where my money will go. No real feel on the points lines. I expected to come out at about 52.5.
Excellent. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the points lines do come out at then. And as Hendrik said, there's always a difference here between being on the Highveld and being at the coast. But that's an interesting game. But I think all of us in agreement here, not one to get too involved with from a punting point of view, because there are, of course, plenty of other games to get involved with this weekend. And let's go on to the Mitre 10 Cup now. And Neil, I'll start with you. First game of the weekend, Bay of Plenty, plus 5.5 points against Auckland.
No, Brent, when the price originally came out, I think it was about Auckland minus 8.5. I think the Son of the Punt boys are quite quick to jump on that 8.5. I did follow them for units, so I am already invested in this game. But I must say, if I had to give an opinion now, I would be completely in the opposite camp. I would definitely you can get 7.5 plus Bay of Plenty at Sunbet at about 15 to 20, so it's about 0.75. I think that's a great play. Bay of Plenty welcoming back Tira Black. They've got Mitch Karthik. They've got Caleb Trask, who are quite rated at fullback, a couple of 7 stars playing in front of a home crowd at Rotorua. So I really do think they will keep this close, and I do back them to back the cap. I think 5.5 is very well priced, but at 7.5, definitely I would take the Bay of Plenty plus. Weather permitting, I think it is meant to be quite nice conditions in Rotorua tomorrow. And I see the game is kicking off an hour earlier. So I would definitely look at an overs on Bay of Plenty points potentially. Last I saw it was at 22.5. So I think that could be quite a good shot, especially for me in my camp, just to sort of offer a bit of cover on that Auckland minus that I unfortunately took early in the week.
Right. Well, we got a bit of a guest best bet at the end of the show, and he actually likes Auckland quite a bit, but we'll come to that. Henrik, what are your thoughts on this one? You also on board with Son of a Punt boys here?
No, Brent. On Monday there was early points lines on this one, and I fancied the Auckland overs. I think it was 29.5, 28.5 thereabouts. I didn't get on. I was a bit busy, and in the end, for how I'm seeing the game now, I'm actually glad that I didn't get on. I've shifted camps here. I like the Bay of Plenty here. I like the team they've picked, like Neil said, Otero Black being back at 10. That's a very big boost for him. And Mitch Karthik in the loose forwards is great with the turnovers. The back line is looking better than it was last week. Being back at home, I think Bay of Plenty will win this game actually. And for me, over the years, like Brent, you evolve as a punter. Normally, I take the plus here. I'm bigger on the win. Well, I haven't put my money down yet, but I'm going to put money on Bay of Plenty. And for the way I punt currently, I would take the plus as a bit of a cover bet on my win bet. Bay of Plenty about 18 to 10 to win the game. That's my bet here, and I'll take a bit of a cover on the plus. And like Neil said, on the point, I like that over on Bay of Plenty. Auckland games, they've been high scoring. They've scored points, but they've also let in points. So I think I can easily see Bay of Plenty scoring 3 or 4 tries here and getting to Terry Black is a good goal kicker, getting the points. So yeah, this is one of my stronger fancies actually of the weekend, and I like strong here.
Well, we didn't have to wait long for a strong fancy there from Henrik. Yeah, I must just say my Wi-Fi is not great tonight. So if I look a bit confused at times, it's because I might be struggling to hear the guys. I see we've got quite a lot of live viewers, but no one's made a comment yet. I don't know. There could be an issue perhaps with the YouTube. We've normally had a few comments by now. So if you're out there, do let us know and make a comment, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitter through Periscope. But Henrik, let's stay with you then and go on to the next game. Counties -10.5 against Manawatu.
Brent, this is a tough one. Manawatu, the Turbos, they've been poor. The first week, they pulled clear against Northland to about almost a 20-point lead, and then they lost by almost 30 points. And Counties last week, they were beaten by Northland, but I like Northland. This is a game I'm quite unsure about. If pushed, I'd go Counties in the minus here, but I'm not really going to get involved here. I would like to hear Niels for thoughts here, but not a game for me to get involved here.
So welcome to Chris in the live chat. He says, I'm looking sharp, picked up on the fact that at long last I had my haircut. First haircut yesterday since lockdown. That means I reached my weight goal. So that's the good news. Reached my weight goal and went and had a little bit of a snip. And so Chris, welcome to you. But let's get Neil's thoughts on this game. Counties -10.5.
No, Brent, just to quote the Oracle on this game, it's a case of rubbish versus rubbish. So I don't think it's one to get too heavily involved in. I will definitely have a squiz at the points line. It's a little BDI by my side. But if the weather's not good in Auckland for this, and if it's not a very low quote, then I won't get too involved. Rather keep my loot for the remainder of the Mitre 10 Cup. But if I once again was pushed to give an opinion, I think I would actually lean towards the plus here. I just think in a rubbish versus rubbish game, you're getting +9.5 on Manawatu. I think they will be able to cover the spread.
Well, when you announced up front there that you were going to quote the Oracle, everyone moved closer because they thought you were going to say they had the wrong favorite in this game. But of course, that was one of his quotes. But his other famous one is rubbish versus rubbish. Well, let's move on to the next game then, Neil, and we'll stay with you. And we've got Northland +4.5 against Taranaki.
Brent, this is also a slightly trickier one because I did really fancy the Northland plus when it was at the 7.5, and I did manage to get some. And I took a little bit of Northland on the board, thanks to Conductor for that tip. But I still, once again, I think at 4.5, but tough now. But if you can get 5.5, definitely the plus is the way to go. Crowd back in Northland, they should really get behind the boys. Taranaki also missing their captain, Tua Walden, who went off with quite a nasty injury, missing the Barrett brothers. So I think that Northland should be able to cover this and also look for a play on the board here, definitely.
Right, I'm just replying to Dino's asking if I hit my goal weight. Yes, Dino, I did. It was a battle, I can tell you. But let's move on though down to Henrik for this game. Northland up against Taranaki, Henrik.
Brent, I like the Taniwa at home here. Taranaki, they started off well with the Barrett brothers, but they've subsequently lost them. They've only got Lachlan and Bosch here at the moment. And Northland, they've been pretty impressive. Last week going to Counties and winning there. I like Northland to win on the board here. It's about 17, 18 to 10 if you shop around. There's +4.5.
18 to 10.
But yeah, I'll just take Northland on the board here. And I'm very strong on Northland here, even stronger than the first play of Plenty here. From all the Mitre 10 Cup games, this is my strongest fancy. I really like Northland to win this game.
Right. Well, Chris mentioned up front about the fact that the newsletter's been in good form. And of course, I normally pick the newsletter best bet from what the guys fancy strongly. And Hendrik's already given us a few. I think we're going for our 4th successive winner. So we'll see how that goes. But if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter yet, do go down below in the description box. You can subscribe to that and also go and check out the Good for the Game forum. There's a link there. The forum is always crazy when we're in rugby season. Unfortunately, these days, rugby season seems to take place all throughout the year. Let's stick with Hendrik, though, and we'll move on to the next game. And there's been quite a lot of talk on this game on the forum, a few varying opinions, I believe. And we've got Canterbury -1.5, so narrow favourites at home against Wellington here, Hendrik.
Brent, this is probably, from a neutral's point of view, this is probably the pick of the Mitre 10 Cup games this weekend. It's a nice time for the South Africans as well, 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. So a lot of people will be watching this game. I'm unsure about this game. I started off liking Wellington. I haven't got money down yet, but I've cooled on Wellington a bit. I'm not sure about them. Canterbury, it's tough to back Canterbury with Brent Cameron starting at 10. I wish we had the conductor on the show, but yeah, he's entertaining the goals. He would have told us about Brent Cameron. But yeah, I don't know. Canterbury, they probably will be looking to bounce back at home. So I'm not going to back either of these two teams on the board. I think if the conditions are good in Canterbury, we can probably look at an overplay here. But unfortunately, I don't have a strong feeling on either of these two teams for the just to win the game. I'm sure Neil will probably have a stronger fancy than I do.
And we'll go over to Neil now, but just to wish the conductor well, he did message me earlier and said, hey, listen, sorry, I'm not going to be able to watch the show or make it tonight. I'll have to catch it tomorrow. He's on another date, so no doubt another Tinder date has come through there for Neil. So, Neil, we hope you beat the handicap tonight and have a successful evening. Right, Neil. Sorry, Brendan, not Neil, the conductor. Right, let's go on to you then, Neil, for this one, the Canterbury Wellington.
No, Brent, just to top off on the conductor there, I think he's actually finding that Tinder date from the winnings from the Wellies performance last week. So, yeah, credit to the conductor. He's having an absolute cracker out there. And I hope he beats the handicap, like he said. So, yeah, just to cap off that Canterbury Wellington, yeah, I'm quite strong on the Wellies boys here. With Brent Cameron at 10, it's exceptionally hard to back Canterbury even at home. I think it proved last week that they could get beat at home, and I think that ship sailed. I won't lie, if Wellington didn't have Julian Severe at starting for them, I would be a lot more confident. But just when I look at them and I still see Duplessis, Karifi and Cohen in the second row, Gordon, Bashop, Wes Goosen, big fan of Billy Proctor, Peter Mugger-Jensen. There's enough quality there to undo this Canterbury side. I really do think that this is probably a handicap worth taking for Wellington, so not necessarily on the board, because if they do lose, I think it'll be really, really tight. So I think that you can still get 3.5, and yeah, I'm quite strong on that 3.5 cap.
Just totally off the topic here, I get, while I'm on the show, any emails I get come up in the bottom of my screen. And I've just got one from AfriHost telling me they've doubled my speed. And I tell you what, it's actually classic, because half the time I can hardly even get what I like to think of as dial-up speed. And then the guys tell me they've doubled my speed. But anyway, that's a little bit off the topic. Let's move on to the next game with thoughts on sports. And Neil, here we got North Harbour, big handicap on this one, plus 16.5 against Tasman.
So, Brent, this is actually quite an interesting fixture, because this is a repeat of the first round game between these two sides, where Tasman were at home, and I know that Henrik was quite strong in the first half cap with them. So I think that's definitely something that I would look to get involved with here. Although it seems that Tasman have hit their straps a bit. So if this game was actually an earlier kickoff, if it was a later kickoff, I would be a lot more confident on that. Just generally the later kickoff are a bit lower scoring. But with an earlier kickoff, it's a bit tight to say. But I think I'm still probably leaning. I'd have to look at the injury news, but I don't think it's too hectic for North Harbour. So yeah, I think I would definitely get involved in about an 8.5, 9.5 cap if that is available on the first half cap. I think that could be quite a good running here. I expect North Harbour to sort of keep it close, and then the Tasman back to take it away in the second half.
Right, and moving on to Henrik on this game. And Henrik, you can't see your fire in the background there, but I can. I can tell you it's looking good, and I think you're going to time this just about perfectly for the end of the show. North Harbour plus 16.5 here.
That's good news, Brent. Yeah, this game opened up at 13.5 on Monday, and I liked Tasman on the 13.5. I didn't get involved, unfortunately. North Harbour, they were very good in that first game, and they've got a good team. But I still think this Tasman team, they're starting to eat their straps. And Neil, I hear you on the first half handicap, and that's probably a good call to go. But you have to be brave to go against this Tasman team. Their quality and the way David Avili played last week, they just look like they can beat any cap here. And I'm leaning on the minus here, but not a big fancy here. probably also a game to watch in running. It's 3 o'clock on a Sunday morning for South Africans. Most people will probably be asleep. I'll be awake. I'll be watching this game, and I'll try and bet in running. But yeah, so I'll look for a smaller North Harbour start good, and then get on the minus on Tasmania.
Okay, well, 3 o'clock in the morning, I can tell you I won't be betting that game in running, Henrik. Southland plus a 10.5 against Waikato.
This is an interesting one, Brent. In Invercargill, lots of rain predicted for this game. It's rugby park's probably going to be a swamp, like Brendan Wessels said earlier on our chat today. And I think the conditions will suit Southland. 10.5 with that kind of weather, and Southland they've been good so far this year. They really have been they've improved. So I think the plus might be the way to go here, and I think they can give Waikato a run here. And then the points line will be very interesting because it will be very wet and there will be rain during the game. So yeah, we'll have to have a look at the plus or the points line. Hopefully we can get mid 40s to 50s and take a nice unders here. And like Chris said, I think it was Chris on the chat that said he's been doing well on the unders on the first half. So we can probably look for a under 24 if we're lucky on the first half in this game.
Right, well, let's go to Neil now. Neil, I can never help but smile when I see the Southland name there because it still takes me back to that first week when we were discussing, when Neil was saying, I think, where you were over 2.5 points once on a Southland game, and at 70-0 down, you were hoping they would take the 3 points. So I have to always chuckle, but they have been improved this season. And 10.5 points, would you be back in the home side here, or do you think Waikato take this?
Brent, once again, I think this is probably the game I have the least feel on. If it was clear conditions, Waikato minus without a doubt. And I think the son of the punt boys laid a bit on the Waikato minus, so I do understand their reasoning. We're just hearing that it's an absolute swamp in Invercargill, just literally throws it off for me. I know that the Southland boys love absolutely nothing more than getting stuck into the rain. So I think definitely points is the way to go here. I think the bookmakers are going to be very, very brave to price anything over 44.5 point line with the rain that's predicted in Invercargill. If anything on the handicap, I probably would look for maybe a Southland plus 5.5 first half cap. I just feel that I can't see Waikato scoring more than 2 tries in the first half, and I think Southland will knock over at least sort of 6 points, maybe sneak in a try with that. I think it's Jason Rutledge, that 42-year-old at the back of the Rolling Thunder. So, and Tony Lambourne's been very impressive, the Blue stalwart for and USA international for Southland. So I think that a first half cap could be quite a good way to go here on Southland. But once again, not a game I'd be looking to get too involved in. Yeah, and I'll just probably focus on the point signs here.
Right, well, let's stay with you, Neil, for the last Mitre 10 Cup game of the weekend. Otago minus 2.5 at home to Hawke's Bay.
Brent, to be honest, this is actually probably my strongest feel of the weekend. I really like Otago on the board here. I took some, I think it was, 17 to 20, 0.85 early in the week, but I see it's gone down to 0.7. You can still get about 0.72, 0.73, and I'm more than happy to take that. I think that I can't see the shield shifting hands for a third week in a row. I feel like Otago, I've got some great momentum behind them. They went to Taranaki on the weekend and beat them by 13 points and took the shield away from them. So I feel that with Josh Ione hitting a bit of minutes under the bars, I feel like he's going to guide them to a very nice victory here. And I wouldn't be surprised if they smash this handicap by 6 or 7 points here. So yeah, I'd take this handicap, and I'm more than happy to take Otago with more on the board. Just a very strong feel for me.
Henrik, yourself in this final game, and you and I just having a little conversation in the chat there. That stadium in the background is, of course, Newlands, where they're playing this weekend. And you say you've been there, many, many times, to watch. I've been to the Newlands cricket ground, but I've never got to watch a game of rugby at Newlands.
Seriously, mate. Wow, that's
it's a pity.
wow, that's sad.
And I never will. Yeah.
It's actually quite sad for me. I can understand the move to the Cape Town Stadium, and I've been to the Cape Town Stadium a few times. The accessibility to Newlands is a bit tough currently. Yeah, but it's sad for me that they're moving so much history. And I grew up there, basically, not literally, but I went there so many times as a kid. So I've got lots of memories over there. It's a great stadium. On this last game on the Mitre 10, I'm with Neil on Otago. I also like Otago here. It's probably my third strongest fancy on the Mitre 10. The 7-10 on them to win the board on the board. I think that's a great bet. I like Hawke's Bay as a team, and they're quite good with Ash Dixon scoring tries from the maul, but Otago have been impressive with Joshua Wane and Solomoni Roy and those guys. So I think Otago under the roof, it will the fast type of game. It will suit them much more than it would Hawke's Bay. So I think Otago to win here is a great bet.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to get your summary of the best bets now, but I just want to pull up a quick video overlay we've got to play now, and it'll probably cover some of our faces and that. I haven't done one of these in a while, but it's the Crow Tips on Twitter, who's been quite active, and let's see what he fancies for this weekend. I think most of his picks are in the Mitre 10 Cup.
Hey guys, Chris Roya, Aka the Crow Tips. That's where it comes from. So yeah, nice to see you guys. I don't think I've obviously never done this before on the show, so it's good to be here. But my best players of the day or of the weekend are definitely at Dragons plus 27. I think it's going to be a much closer game than that for sure. Cardiff, I think they should in the end be much too strong for the Italian side and cover that handicap. I think it's around -4-5 now. And Auckland, I like them. I actually took them at -9. I see it's gone down to -5. Not too sure why, but I still think Auckland side will be far too classy for Bay of Plenty, but it could get into a dogfight, but I'm still confident on that one. Have a good weekend, guys.
Right, so he's going to come on the show sometime as well. Look forward to that. He obviously had a couple of Pro 14 bets in there as well, but he's actually interesting. He was on the Auckland minus early. Of course, the Soap boys, Son of a Punt boys, have got on the plus there. So a bit of a differences on that game, but Henrik, you have been quite strong on quite a few of the Mitre 10 Cup games. So just maybe summarize again your bets and perhaps in descending order.
Brent, my strongest Mitre 10 Cup bet, I like Northland to beat Taranaki. So I'm not going to take the plus there. I'm just going to take Northland to win. That's my best bet. And then Bay of Plenty tomorrow morning also to win the game. And then Otago to win at 7-10 or even the -2.5. So that's my three I like on the Mitre 10 Cup. I'm not going to stay on the show for the Pro 14. I haven't done enough research on it, but I do like Connacht to win against Glasgow. That's the only one I like on the Pro 14.
Excellent. Well, Henrik, thanks very much, man. And just in time, we got Brady joining us on the live chat. So he obviously can give us some good comments on the European rugby as well. And I know Neil, I was saying on to a couple of guys on WhatsApp that this man studies every rugby league in the world. I guess Brady's probably the only one in the same sort of division as Neil for that. But Henrik, great having you on the show. And we'll speak to you on Twitter and on the Good for the Game forum over the weekend.
Thank you very much, Brent. It was great to be back on the show. And good luck to all the punters. Enjoy the weekend.
And enjoy that steak.
Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Excellent. Thanks, Henrik. So that leaves Neil and I now to go through the Pro 14 games. And Neil, let's start with Zebra against the Cardiff Blues. And I think there's been a bit of handicap movement in this one. But at the moment, I just got this off Bet Exchange, a +7.5 for the Italians.
No, Brent, especially with these European fixtures, you got to be very quick on the handicap. I always try to post my thoughts quite early, just because I know that there are big line shifts with the European game, just due to team news and just sort of feel of the punters. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that there was -3.5 available early in the week for the Cardiff Blues. I thought this was an absolute gift, especially with no crowds in Parma. That's usually quite a leveling factor with these Italian sides. Cardiff Blues are going to have way too much class for the Zebra side. And I just see that there's quite a lot of rain about in Zebra, and that the points lines have come out at about 36.5. So that's exceptionally low. but I do have a sneaky suspicion that it could clear up later towards the end of the day by kickoff. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. And if it does do that, then I'll definitely be eyeing out the Cardiff Blues over 20.5. Yeah, I reckon they'll want to get their season off quite strong and get a couple of tries behind them as well.
Right, I had a WhatsApp from Dave Cooney as well. I must just have a look, quickly find it and just see. I think he mentioned this game as well. I just want to have a look there. He also mentioned the fact, Neil, about getting on early in the week with the Pro 14. Quite often, I'll come to his bets at the end. He does fancy Connacht, and he liked Cardiff at -3.5. So obviously that line has moved a bit there now. But yeah, certainly one to watch the weather, no doubt about that. Let's move on to the next game. It's Leinster, massive handicap here. Neil, Leinster against the Dragons, -28.5 points.
No, Brent, big handicap here. I'm going firmly against the grain here. I really like Dragons on the plus. I look at their side and they've improved somewhat. They've got two Wales back rows in Wainwright and Moriarty. They've got Rory Williams, ex-Bristol Bears scrum half, playing great rugby. They've recruited Nick Tompkins from the Saracens, got Jamie Roberts in at 12. Not going to be too dynamic on attack, but he offers that stern defense. You always get over the advantage line. I just feel like the Dragons will have enough to cover the 28.5 cap. Obviously, I wasn't too impressed with Leinster in that semi-final against in the Champions Cup, but I'm not looking too much into that. This is sort of the handicap I would expect in yesteryear when these two teams play, and I can only see that the Dragons have improved significantly for them. So I'm more than happy to back the Dragons on the plus here. Obviously, it's tough going against Leinster when they're playing at home, but I am pretty confident on this plus 28.5 Dragons.
Yeah, it certainly is a massive handicap, and most of the guys, well, quite a few of the guys that I've spoken to seem to like that as well. Let's move on then to Ulster, -9.5 against Benetton.
Sure, this is probably quite a tough call. You look at that Ulster side on paper and you see a lot of good names, but then you watch them in real life and they've just got absolutely no tooth to their attack at all. Just one-off runners, just no creativity. They really do struggle to score points. And I think coming up against the Benetton side, which has improved quite a lot in the past, I reckon Benetton pushed them quite close, and I think that Benetton will definitely cover this plus 9.5 spread. It would be a huge play for me, probably about a 2 out of 5 level of confidence, but I still can see Benetton covering this 9.5.
Just looking back to the previous game, Brady commenting, overs Dragons could be good too, should be around 11.5, 12.5, but depends on the forecast. So that's it. As rugby punters, we've got so many options, so many different markets to play. Let's go on to the next game now, and this is a really tight one, according to the bookmakers. It's the Scarlets who narrowly shading favouritism at home to Munster.
Brent, I actually quite always fancy having a nice crack on these sort of choice games, because I feel that if I have a slightly stronger feel than the bookmakers, you can always get good value. You don't always have to go on a handicap. You can just go straight outright win. And for this one, I'm definitely going to lean the wayside in Munster. Obviously, also crowds not really around. I just see Brady echoing my Benetton plus there. So I think Munster will just have too much international quality. I see that Conor Murray is fit for Munster, which is quite big. Obviously, they are missing Archie Sneeman, which is a big loss. I'm a big fan of his. But I think with Damien Delaney in the midfield getting over, Chris Cloutey winning the turnovers, getting the penalties, I just can't see that Munster losing this fixture. Not a big Johan van Graan fan, but I think they'll have enough to get over the line against the Scarlets.
Right, let's go on then to Connacht. They -1.5. Dave Cooney did mention that he liked them. I think he got them at evens a couple of days ago. At -1.5 points, a very close game. This again, according to the bookmakers. Where's your money, Neil?
No, Brent, another cracking call from the conductor here. He was quite quick to suss out Connacht on the board here, which I managed to get some at, I think it was about 11 to 10. So I think that the bookmakers have priced this quite right. I think it's sitting at about 2.5, 3.5 now. I still think that Connacht are going to win this game and win it quite well. I think that Glasgow are missing a couple of players. I still feel like they could be in snooze mode a bit here with Connacht. I was quite impressed with them after the COVID break, and I do think they have quite a lot of quality in their side. So I expect them to get over the board, get over the line here. And if you can get them at about 7 to 10, I think Connacht to win is a great bet.
Well, if ever you should be following someone on Twitter, if you want a Pro 14 bet, it must be Pro 14 at Tipster. And he's coming in and saying Connachters win a great bet. And he's actually watching on Twitter. So we do tend to get a few views on Twitter, but mainly are a YouTube show at this stage. But good to see a Twitter viewer coming in there, a Pro 14 at Tipster. Let's move on then to the next game. And it's, I think, the final one of the weekend, Edinburgh minus 14.5 against the Ospreys.
No, Brent, it's quite funny. I just thought to myself, with the Cheetahs and Kings gone, it's no longer the Pro 14. It's actually the Pro 12. But I think the comp's still called the Pro 14. Yeah, so it's a bit strange. But yeah, so just going back to this last fixture, it's a bit of a tough one with our team sheets. I think team sheets could be a big determining factor. If the Ospreys are starting the likes of Gareth Anscombe, George North, Alan Wynne-Jones, and I think the plus is a great way to go here. And especially with, I think that Duan van der Merwe could be out for Edinburgh. If that's the case, I'd be all over the Ospreys plus. But with that being said, it's probably a handicap I would leave alone until the team sheets come out. Because if Edinburgh are at full strength and Ospreys are missing their players, they definitely will cover this cap. But once again, if they aren't and there are the players available for Ospreys, yeah, the plus is a great way to go here.
Right, and that brings us, I think, to the end of the Pro 14 games. Before we wrap up on best bets there, Neil, anything top 14? I believe coronavirus is playing a little bit of havoc there. I've seen talk of some of the games being cancelled and that sort of stuff. You got anything else in Europe? Anything that we haven't covered on the show tonight?
I don't. I have one Six Nations play, but it's only happening on the 24th of October. But I just see that the bookies have priced it up. So I will, as I say, I always repeat that if there's early value, you've got to get on it. I really like France to beat Ireland at home. I think that is an absolutely cracking play. Last I saw, you could get about 0.85, which is about as close to evens as you can get. I reckon when the markets settle, it'll be about 4.5, 5.5 France. So France, I just think with the players that they have at their disposal, they're going to give the Irish a serious hiding here.
Well, Brady, warm your voice up there. We're going to need you for some Six Nations as well. But as Neil says, if you spot that early value, do get on early, because what I have noticed, especially before week one of tournaments, when the guys on the Good for Game forum like yourself, Neil, spot that value, the line tends to move. It doesn't always move straight away, but generally speaking, by the time the game comes around, that line has moved. So if you do like what Neil's saying there, then do get on early. Just quickly going to Brady's post here, he's talking on the top 14. He was on La Rochelle minus 7.5, but that game has been cancelled. He has taken some power plus 7.5. And here's good news for you, Neil. Brady also rubber stamping that France win against Ireland. And, well, do we need another rubber stamp? We've got it there from Hendrik Swart as well. So certainly the boys do enjoy that one. But Neil, let's sum up then your best bet. Perhaps give us a best bet or two in Mitre 10 Cup and in the Pro 14.
Okay, perfect. So my best bet in the Mitre 10 Cup would definitely be Otago on the board, probably followed by Northland on the plus, and then third, they have plenty on the plus. So those are my three best players, but I definitely will look for a strong points play. And in the Pro 14, my best bet was Cardiff on the minus 3.5, 2.5, but that's not available anymore. So just for those what's still available, it's probably either Dragons plus 28.5 or Connacht on the board at 7 to 10. I'll go with Connacht on the board at 7 to 10. I think that's a great punt.
Excellent. Well, just a reminder, I'll have to sift through the show later tonight, come up with a newsletter bet that will go out early on Friday morning. So do hit the subscribe to the newsletter down below, and also to the Good for the Game forum as well. And last but not least, the YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed yet. But that's end of a great show talking rugby. From next week, things are going to get really hectic because with the local rugby coming back, we did ask a few guys for opinion last week. Do you want one big show or lots of split shows? And the general consensus was one show. But what we might look to do is I just need to get myself up to speed with how to do it. And Sean Nicholas will probably help me there. What I might do is we do one show, but we might split it afterwards so that guys can have a choice to watch one show or, for example, to watch a Mitre 10 Cup or South African rugby or anything like that. But, Neil, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Good to see you again, man. And, I look forward to your commentary on Twitter and on the Good for the Game forum over the weekend.
No, thanks very much for having me, Brent. Looking forward to offering my thoughts on the forum and on Twitter.
Excellent. And let's just hope that the conductor had a good evening tonight, and we'll maybe learn a little bit more about that on WhatsApp tomorrow. And to all the guys in the live chat, thanks very much for your contributions. Always a very important Pro 14 tipster. Thanks there for watching on on Twitter as well. And yeah, until next week's the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters, that's it for now. We'll see you on Twitter and we'll see you on the Good for the Game forum. Thanks, everyone.